Silver just crossed $100 per ounce on Friday, January 23rd. That is a 40% gain in 23 days. Every major bullion dealer in the United States is now showing the same message. Sold out, backorder only, 8 to 12 week delays. I called 3 local coin shops in Texas and Florida over the weekend. 2 of them had handwritten signs on the door saying no silver eagles available. The third shop had exactly 4 random year rounds left and wanted $118 each. Spot price at that moment was $94. So here's my question. If there is truly no silver left, then why are dealers still buying your metal? Why are bid prices still posted? Why did APMEX raise their buyback offer by $6 on Saturday? I spent the last 72 hours digging into COMEX inventory data, refinery production reports, and actual dealer purchase limits to figure out what is really happening. What I found is not a supply crisis, it is a strategy. Let me show you exactly what is happening right now in the physical silver market. As of Sunday morning, January 25th, the spot price of silver is sitting at $93.80. That is the global benchmark price, the price that banks and refineries use to settle contracts. But if you go to any major online dealer right now, the price you actually pay is completely different. APMEX is charging $114.99 for a single 2026 Silver Eagle. That is a $22 premium over spot. JM Bullion is at $112.50. SD Bullion is $116. Monument Metals is $119. These are not small local shops padding their margins. These are the biggest bullion dealers in America. They move millions of ounces per month, and every single one of them is showing the same inventory status. Limited quantity, pre-sale only, shipment delayed 4 to 6 weeks. Now here's where it gets strange. If you flip over to the sell side, the story changes completely. APMEX is offering to buy your Silver Eagles right now for $90.20. That is the buyback price they posted Saturday night. JM Bullion buyback is $89.50. SD Bullion is $91. So let me repeat that. They are selling for $114, but buying for $90. That is a $24 spread on a single coin. That is a 21% gap. In a normal market, that spread is 3 to 5%, maybe 8% during high volatility. 21% is not a market. It is a toll booth. Now let me show you what is happening at the actual source. The United States Mint. On January 6th, the Mint temporarily suspended sales of Silver Eagles to authorized dealers. They cited overwhelming demand and depleted inventory. That announcement sent shockwaves through the stacking community. People assumed the Mint ran out of silver blanks. But here is what actually happened. The Mint did not stop production. They stopped releasing coins to dealers. Production continued at the West Point facility. Coins were still being struck. They were just being held in inventory instead of shipped. Why would they do that? Because the Mint uses a rolling price grid based on the average London spot price over a trailing period. When silver spiked from $70 to $90 in 10 days, that pricing formula broke. Dealers were able to buy freshly minted Eagles from the Mint at $78 and immediately flip them retail for $110. The Mint was unintentionally subsidizing a $32 arbitrage, so they pulled the plug. They froze allocations until their internal pricing committee could reset the dealer cost structure. That happened on January 14th. Sales resumed on the 15th, but now the Mint wholesale price to authorized dealers is $96 per coin. Dealers are selling them for $114. That is an $18 retail margin, which is actually reasonable in this environment. So the Mint shortage was real, but temporary. It was a pricing problem, not a supply problem. Now let me show you the COMEX data because this is where the sold-out narrative starts to fall apart. As of Friday, January 23rd, COMEX registered silver inventory was 82 million ounces. Registered means available for delivery. That is down from 112 million ounces in December. So yes, inventory dropped 30 million ounces in 6 weeks. That sounds dramatic until you zoom out. During the 2020 squeeze, COMEX registered inventory dropped to 60 million ounces and the market did not break. Eligible inventory, which is silver stored in COMEX warehouses but not available for immediate delivery, is still at 218 million ounces. If the shortage was real that eligible silver would be moving into registered, it is not. It is sitting still. That tells you the big holders are not worried. So if COMEX has 218 million ounces sitting ineligible and dealers are still posting buyback prices, then why does every website say sold out? The answer is a mechanism called inventory velocity management. Let me explain how this works. When silver was trading at $30 per ounce, a dealer like APMEX could afford to hold $10 million worth of inventory on their shelf. That is roughly 330,000 ounces. It sits in their vault. Customers place orders. Coins ship within 2 days. Simple model. But when silver jumps to $90, that same 330,000 ounces is now worth $30 million. The capital cost just tripled. Dealers do not want to tie up that much cash in static inventory when prices are moving 5% per day, so they shift to a just-in-time model. They take your order, they collect your payment, then they source the metal. They buy from the mint during the next allocation window, or they pull from a refinery, or they wait for customer buybacks to come in. Then they ship your order 4 weeks later. This allows them to avoid holding massive inventory during a volatile spike. It also allows them to lock in your purchase at today's high price while they acquire the metal at potentially lower prices over the next few weeks. That is why the sold-out signs go up, even when metal is still available. It is not that silver does not exist. It is that dealers do not want to hold it on their balance sheet at these prices. Now let me show you the refinery side, because this is the part most people miss. The United States has 4 primary silver refineries: Asahi in Utah, Alameda in Ohio, Republic Metals in Florida, and Sunshine Minting in Idaho. I checked production data from all 4. Total combined refining capacity in the United States is roughly 70 million ounces per year. That is about 5.8 million ounces per month. Current dealer demand, based on pre-sale orders, is estimated at 8 to 9 million ounces per month. So yes, there is a gap. Demand is outrunning domestic refining capacity by about 3 million ounces per month. But here's the key point. The United States is not the only source. Canada has 4 major refineries: the Royal Canadian Mint, Asahi Canada, Kitco, and Scotiabank. Combined capacity is another 40 million ounces per year. Mexico has 2 large refineries in Monterrey and Torreon. Combined capacity is 35 million ounces per year. So North American refining capacity is 145 million ounces per year, or 12 million ounces per month. That is enough to cover current dealer demand. The problem is not total capacity. The problem is logistics and tariffs. Moving refined silver across the Canadian border into the United States adds cost and time. Dealers prefer domestic supply because it is faster and cheaper. So when domestic refineries hit their monthly max, dealers start showing delayed shipping instead of sourcing from Canada or Mexico. They would rather delay your order and keep their margins high than pay cross-border premiums and cut their profit. Now, let me show you what happened in China, because this is the catalyst everyone is talking about. On December the 28th, 2025, the Chinese government announced new export restrictions on antimony, gallium, germanium, and refined silver. The rule went into effect January 1st, 2026. It does not ban silver exports. It requires an export license. That license process adds roughly 14 days and costs about $2,000 per shipment. It also gives Beijing the ability to throttle export volume if they choose. China produces roughly 20% of the world's refined silver. That is about 40,000 metric tons per year, or roughly 1.3 billion ounces. If that supply gets cut off, it would create a massive global shortfall. But here's what actually happened. Chinese export volume in the first 3 weeks of January dropped by 30%, not 100%. Licenses are being issued. Metal is still flowing. It is slower and more expensive, but it is not gone. The panic is bigger than the actual disruption. And here's the part that dealers are not telling you. The United States does not import much refined silver from China. Most of our imports come from Mexico, Canada, and Peru. We get about 4% of our physical silver from China. 4%. So the export restrictions are a global headline, but they are not the reason your local coin shop is sold out. The real reason is simpler. Dealers are using the narrative of a supply crisis to justify massive premiums and delayed shipping while they manage their inventory risk during a parabolic price move. So what does this actually mean for you if you are trying to buy silver right now, or if you already own it? Let me break down the implications in order of importance. First implication. You are paying a massive tax to enter this market at current prices. If you buy a Silver Eagle today for $114 and spot is $93, you're paying a 22% premium. That premium is not going to disappear when you sell. When you go to sell that same coin back to a dealer, they are going to offer you spot plus maybe 3 to 5%. So you need silver to rise 20% just to break even on that round trip. That is a huge hurdle. Compare that to someone who bought Silver Eagles in December when spot was $70 and premiums were $4. They paid $74 total. Spot is now $93. They're up 25% even after selling back into the spread. You are starting from a losing position. Second implication, the sold out signs are creating artificial urgency that is pushing people to make emotional decisions. I've seen people in stacking forums talking about paying $125 per ounce from local shops because they are afraid they will never get another chance to buy. That is $125 for 1 ounce of silver when spot is $93. That is a 34% premium. Even if silver goes to $150, which is a 60% gain from here, you would only be up 20% on your actual purchase price. You're giving away 40% of your potential upside to fear. Third implication. This market structure is setting up a brutal sell-off when momentum breaks. Right now, retail buyers are chasing the move higher. They are paying any price. They are accepting 8-week delays. They are buying pre-sale allocations for coins that have not even been minted yet. That is classic late-stage FOMO behavior. When price momentum stalls, those same buyers are going to panic. They are going to try to sell back into a market where dealers are offering spot minus premium. And spot could be falling at the same time. Let me give you a historical example. In April 2011, silver hit $49 per ounce. Retail premiums at that time were 15 to 20%. Silver Eagles were selling for $58. Then, in May, the price collapsed. Silver dropped from $49 to $32 in 4 days. Dealers stopped buying. Buyback offers disappeared. People who bought at $58 could not even get $32 for their coins because dealers were not taking inventory during a falling market. They had to wait months for bid prices to return. Some of them sold at $28 just to get out. They lost 50% of their money in 6 weeks. The current setup has the same characteristics. Elevated premiums, extended delivery times, emotional buying, weak buyback liquidity. All of that points to a fragile market that can reverse violently. Fourth implication. If you already own silver, this is probably the best selling opportunity you're going to see for years. A $93 spot price with dealers paying $90 to $91 on buybacks is an excellent exit. You're getting near spot with only a 2 to 3% haircut. That is a reasonable transaction cost. If you wait for silver to go higher, you might get a better spot price, but the premium compression could eat your gains. Let me show you what I mean. If silver goes to $110, but premiums collapse back to normal, dealers might only offer $104 on buyback. You made $13 on paper, but only $13 in your pocket. If you sell now at $91 and silver goes to $110, you missed $19. But if silver drops to $70 and you did not sell, you're now stuck holding at a loss or selling into a market where dealers might only bid $65. The risk reward is not in your favor if you are holding for more upside from here. So what should you actually do right now? Let me give you the positioning that makes sense based on the data I just showed you. If you do not own any silver, yet do not chase this move, wait for a pullback. Silver has gone up 40% in 3 weeks. That is not sustainable. Every major rally in silver history has had at least one sharp correction of 10 to 20% before the next leg higher. Even if this bull market continues, you will get a better entry point in the next 30 to 60 days. Set a price alert for $80. If silver pulls back to that level and premiums compress back to 5 or 6%, then you are looking at an entry around $85 to $86. That is 25% cheaper than buying today at $114. You will own the same ounce of metal, but you will have 25% more room for profit. If you already own silver and you bought below $70, this is a good time to take some profit. You do not have to sell everything, but selling 20 to 30% of your stack locks and a 50% gain and removes emotional risk. You can always buy back in later if the market dips. If you are holding at a break, even or small loss because you bought in the 80s or 90s, then hold for now, but set a mental stop loss. If silver breaks below $85 on heavy volume, that is a technical breakdown, and you should consider cutting the position. Do not let a small loss turn into a big one by hoping it comes back. If you are thinking about buying from a local coin shop because you saw a sold out sign, walk in and ask them 2 questions. First, ask, what is your buyback price right now? If they say, we are not buying right now, that tells you they are worried about holding inventory. That is a red flag. It means they think the price is topping. Second, ask, when is your next shipment from the mint or your distributor? If they say, we do not know or we are not taking orders, that is another red flag. It means they do not have reliable supply lines and they are just flipping panic buyers at maximum premium. A legitimate dealer will tell you, we have an allocation coming in 2 weeks, and we can pre-sell you coins at this price with this delivery date. That is how real supply chains work. And one more thing, do not buy junk silver or generic rounds at premium prices right now. I am seeing people pay $28 for a 90% silver quarter. That quarter contains 0.18 ounces of silver. At $93 spot, that is $16.70 of metal. They are paying a 67% premium for a worn out piece of junk silver. That is insane. If you are going to pay high premiums, at least buy recognized products like American Eagles or Canadian Maples that have resale liquidity. Junk silver premiums will collapse the moment this rally ends, and you'll be stuck with coins nobody wants to buy back. Here is what you need to remember. The sold-out signs are real, but the shortage is not. Dealers are managing inventory risk during a volatile spike. They would rather delay your order than hold $30 million of silver on their balance sheet while prices swing 5% per day. The premiums you are paying right now are not normal. 20 to 30% overspot is not a market. It is a panic tax. And that tax comes directly out of your future profits. The smart money is not chasing $100 silver. They bought at 60 and 70. They are selling to you right now. If you want to build a silver position, do it when fear is low and premiums are tight. Not when every headline is screaming shortage and dealers are adding $30 spreads. I will keep tracking COMEX data refinery reports and dealer premiums over the next few weeks. If something major changes, I will update you. But for now, the play is patience, not FOMO.